For me, my options are open. I mean, I'm training sort of touching P-bar and high bar at the moment in training, and obviously my main focus is floor and pummel. Like I've said publicly, it's still at the moment is floor and pummel. Like I don't know how many pieces I'm going to look at doing, if I'm really honest with you, but I would keep the other pieces up in the background to keep my all-round fitness up, because that's how I've always been as a gymnast. I've always been an all-rounder, and if I stop that kind of fitness, it might not help my two pieces as well. But the reason why I dropped down to two pieces was to really give those the time that I felt like they needed, and I felt like I could really make some improvements on them and make some big upgrades, which I've done now, which I'm really happy with that decision. I know it was the right one now as well. And now I'm at a level where I can sort of keep going with those routines and try and consolidate them towards Tokyo. But my options are open in terms of all round, but for now, the focus is floor and pummel. All round, I've always said it throughout my whole career, is the hardest job. You've got to get all 6 apparatus right on the day. And you know that the bronze medal I got in Rio for all round is one of my proudest achievements. It doesn't matter that it's bronze and not the gold colour, because that for me was a huge target for me and Scott moving sort of into that Olympic Games. I wanted to, for the whole 4-year cycle, I really wanted to prove myself as an all-rounder off the back of 2012, and to finish it on that medal, and it was so close as well. It was such an intense moment waiting for the scores to come in, and yeah, it was just one of my proudest feelings. So an all-round medal is the hardest, and obviously it is a massive achievement for anyone to get an all-round medal. Yeah, it would be the most impressive medal for someone to get if it was an all-round gold, but it's not an easy task. He's getting older, and obviously gymnastics is getting more tougher for him each year it goes by. He still is the greatest gymnast that's ever lived. Someone that I've looked up to for so many years, and who's inspired me, who I've watched YouTube videos on, and you know, inspired by his style and the way he does gymnastics and the way his mindset is going into everything. So I feel like in that term he's got a very hard job on his hand, because there's youngsters coming through that are pushing his toes, even in Japan. Like there's quite a few there. So he's got a hard job. He's going to give it his best shot, but I'm not sure in terms of all round what his plans are, because I remember actually being in a press conference with him after winning the all round medal with him in Rio, him saying that he was specialising. He's changed his mind and he's back to all round now. So, you know, I'm not sure where he's standing or where he's sitting, but it'll be. It'll be very exciting to see. Japanese gymnastics, they're always so secretive, so who knows what we'll do next, yeah. But he's still an unbelievable gymnast to watch, yeah. He really is. Yeah, I mean, you can feel it's getting closer, but for me, like it's still it's there, but it's in the back of my mind, because there's so many jobs to do beforehand. And yeah, it's a qualification process, and it's brand new. It's never been, it's never heard of that you can qualify in this year, 2 years out, which is a brilliant opportunity for all countries. But it's a tough job. You have to come top 3 as a team, which is really hard when you look at the likes of China, Japan, Russia, America. But it's a great feeling that we are one of those countries that are up there in contention for that. We'll see obviously what happens on the day. Sport is sport, and all we can do is keep pushing. But you know, I think for everyone, the bigger picture is always there of Tokyo 2020, and these are stepping stones. That it's kind of important to try and get those right, to build confidence on the lead up to it, and you know, build hopefully our strength as a nation as well. Yeah, it'll be something to learn from, but all parents make it work. You have to make it work, and it's something that I'm unbelievably excited about. It's the best thing ever, and me and Leah honestly can't wait so much. And yeah, I can't wait for February to come round, and you know, hopefully all things go okay, and just look forward to sort of meeting the baby. Really, it's a crazy feeling. But I've also heard that some athletes, I got told it a couple of weeks ago that who spoke to some athletes and who've had kids while they're current athletes and competing at high levels, that it's helped them because it's put a lot of things into perspective and it's taken the pressure for them while they're competing and things like that. So, you know, it can always be a positive spin, and I'm looking forward to sort of learning how to make it work and that new sort of challenge of trying to make it work, basically. And the interesting thing is, obviously, the first thing people say to you is you're going to get no sleep, which is yeah, it's going to be a tough one, especially when I'm used to sort of 10, 11 hours sleep a night. So I was talking to the boys about it, and I think I might start after World sort of tapering my sleep, like tapering off, so getting up a bit earlier and then sort of working towards, probably building towards like 6 hours to 8 hours rather than 10 or 11. I think that might help me by the time February comes round, but we'll see. It's exciting, really exciting. 100% agree, couldn't agree more, and we was actually having a conversation with the boys out for dinner last night about this actual topic. And I've always said that being, especially sort of being an elite athlete as well, you have to have a balance. It's so important to have something outside, another focus, so that it's not just fully intense on your sport. It's important to be focused when you are in the gym or you are training, but outside just have some distractions. And what can be very hard is when people, we was talking about sort of touching on mental health and topics like depression and things like that, and you hear about a lot of athletes that feel depressed when they retire. And I feel like a big part of that is sometimes where they're so focused on their sport and just their sport, nothing else, if they don't achieve what they want and it comes to a time when they need to retire, it can really hit someone. And then they can potentially just have to start from scratch when they could be late 20s, early 30s, and they start from scratch where they feel they could have started that at 18, 19. And that's tough for a person to deal with. I think that's the big issue with sport. So it is important to have stuff like, I mean, it's important to just have just a chilled social life, but also have some focuses like you say other athletes have. So like me and my wife Leah, we run our World Gymnastics, our business on the side, and we're like unbelievably busy with that. And I've got some hobbies. I like designing. I like doing stuff like that. So it's important to keep stuff like that up, just to help you as well focus when you are in the gym, I think, and then actually get some chill time when you're not. I think it's 100% agree. Couldn't agree more. Yeah. For years, I've sort of designed clothes. So yeah, I like to try and be quite crazy. I like to be creative in my gymnastics and try and do different stuff. And outside of it as well, I like designing trainers. I've got hundreds of different designs of trainers that I've done, just doodles and then drawings on like on the iPad, on the laptop, and everything. Yeah, so that massively interests me in clothing as well. That's a huge passion of mine, and it's something I'd love to do, but I know it's a very hard industry to be in. But it's something that, true. That's a very good way to look at it. But it's something that really excites me, so it's something that I want to sort of kind of move into a bit as well as doing my sport.
Right, Max. So what we're saying here is you're trying to win more Olympic medals. You're married.
Yeah.
You're just having a baby. You do your YouTube channel stuff, and you want to get into clothing and design. How many hours do you have in your day?
Not enough. I always say that there's not enough hours in the day. That's probably because I need to get up earlier, actually. No, but I'm a bit of an ideas person. I love sort of coming up and trying to sort of innovate things that are, trying to improve something or trying to make something better or make it easier, or in so many different aspects. And that's why me and Leah are trying to, set up businesses now. And that's why it's important for, going back onto the other topic, it's important for athletes to set something up before they retire, not when they retire. And that's what I'm trying to do, just so, you don't stop and you don't know what you need to do or what you want to do, or have any inkling. So that's why, I like to do as much as I possibly can around the gym to try and, just take my focus off and have something that I have a massive passion for as well. I think it's an important part of our sport, and it's an important part of the world. I mean, everyone's on social media. It's crazy at the moment. It's a big part on how we can sort of push the sport as well in the right direction if it's done correctly. And all sort of a lot of my focus and what I see as kind of my role now as well is to try and sort of keep inspiring the next generation. That's been our things for sort of 6 years now, and I want to keep doing that. And like I said, I do feel like that is partly my role now, to try and push the sport into where it can go, because I can very clearly see how big it can get with the growth that it's had in the last sort of 4 years especially. And social media can play a huge part in that, in trying to make it, it's getting to there where it's a bit more of a cooler sport to do now. The boys' participation has rose massively, which is a great thing, and girls are still loving what they do in the sport as well. So I feel it's important to get social media right, and for me I just try and be myself and just put out real sort of what training's like and what it's like to be an athlete, and that's what I'm trying to do now. So I'm trying to put out some more videos of actually insights on what challenges or mistakes that I've had along the way in competitions, or experience that I've had and successes and stuff like that, so that people can see what it's like to be a gymnast and what it's like to be an athlete. Because for me, I feel the luckiest person alive to be a gymnast. It's like truly is one of the best sports in the world, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I feel lucky that I started when I was 7 and I'm still doing it now, and I want to carry on for sort of another 6 more years and beyond if I can. Out of beam and bars then?
Well, you could do floor, but you have to wear a nice leotard with sparkles,
Oh God.
and you have to dance to music.
No, I couldn't be doing that. I'd probably give bars a go.
Okay.
I like to think I could try some cool stuff on bars. But it's hard, girls' pieces are hard. I know boys are as well. But beam is tough. Yeah, beam would be really, really tough to compete. It's kind of what people look at. If you look at pommel and beam,
pommel's
balance-wise, it's a tough piece to compete. So I think I'd pick bars. I've never had that question before.
Good. I've got loads more, but time to wrap up.